Today I'm going to give you the pros and the cons of having your own backyard chickens. As we move through this video, there's going to be a counter at the top of your screen. Pay attention to that counter because it's going to show you the pros, the cons, and which one wins at the end. If you are an experienced chicken tender, as we move through this video, let me know in the comments if I'm forgetting any pros, any cons, or if you just want to add something extra to what I'm already talking about. Let's get started. I feel like I need to start off with the biggest con to having chickens, and that is the cost. Chickens can be extremely expensive, much more expensive than people realize. You have things like a chicken coop that you need to buy. You have a chicken run that you either need to build or buy. Yes, you can mitigate these things by doing a DIY coop and a DIY run, but it's still expensive and there's still a cost involved there. After you have those two things set up, you have things like a chicken water and a feeder and the bedding and the food, and if you're not free ranging, but even when you free range, there's still a lot of times that you need to supplement that diet that they have. And for 99% of people, the eggs you're getting from your backyard chickens are actually gonna be more expensive than the eggs you're getting from the grocery store. So let's go ahead and put a point on the board for the con list. Moving on to a happier note, chickens are gonna be one of the #1 ways for you to become more self-sufficient besides a garden. When it comes to farm animals and homestead animals, chickens are gonna be the easiest one to get into. They're gonna be one of the easiest ones to feed, to water, to take care of, and they're gonna be giving you a great source of protein in the form of an egg. So let's go ahead and add a point to Team Pro. Next up, we have regulations, and depending on where you live, the regulations are gonna look completely different. For some people, they can only have 2 chickens. Some people can only have 6 chickens. Some people can't have roosters. Some people can't have crowing hens. You have to pay for a permit to have the chicken. So there's a lot of different regulations depending on where you're living. So let's go ahead and add a point to Team Con. Compared to other farm animals and really just pets in general, chickens are relatively low maintenance. If you have a relatively large waterer, a relatively large feeder, you can get away with only feeding and watering them every 3 days. Some people can even get away with up to a week. They're really low maintenance animals. For a lot of people, they want to come outside and hang out their chooks every day, but either way, they are a very low maintenance animal compared to other animals. So let's go ahead and put a point on the board for pro. Chickens can be noisy. You have roosters, which are obviously noisy. Everybody knows that. But what a lot of people don't know is you have crowing hens and you just have loud hens in general. When I first walked outside today, my girls saw me and they just started just yelling at me because they knew I was coming out here with some treats. I don't mind my girls yelling at me every time I come outside because I think it's adorable. But my neighbors, on the other hand, they probably don't like it, so that's something you might have to deal with. Even though I think it's adorable, I still have to add this to the con list. And speaking of them being adorable, they're also extremely entertaining. You can sit out here and watch your chickens for hours. They're almost like little dinosaurs. Well, they're literally little dinosaurs, and they each have their own little personality that comes along with them, and they're just the most adorable little thing that you can have in your backyard. They're great. So this is going to be another point for the pro team. My girls are so angry right now because they're trying to put themselves to bed and I'm trying to film. Give me just a minute, okay, girls? I'm almost done. Just give me a bit. I'll be out of your hair in just a second. Chickens poop a whole lot. And it doesn't matter if you're doing the deep litter method, it doesn't matter if you're in here cleaning it once a week, either way, you're dealing with chicken poop. But you can take that poop, you can compost it down, and it makes an amazing fertilizer to put out in your garden like we do. So realistically, this is a point for the pro team and the con team. It really just depends. Do you have a garden that you can put this compost in, or are you just gonna be throwing the chicken poop away? So for you, this might be a pro, it might be a con. For me, it's a pro, but I'm gonna go ahead and add it to both of the lists because it really just depends on what your situation is. And while we're on the subject of composting, chickens do a great job of getting rid of all of your kitchen scraps. So unless you're a terrible person, you just want to send that to the landfill, give it to your chickens. It gives them more nutrition, it gives them fun, they play with the food, they like cabbage. If you ever give a chicken cabbage, they will sit there and peck at it for hours. They love kitchen scraps and it's extremely good for them too. And then an even bigger bonus to that is they're taking your kitchen scraps, they're eating them, it's giving them nutrition, and then they're pooping, you're composting that poop and you're putting it in the garden. It's just this huge cycle of sustainability that everybody with chickens should be doing. Definitely a point for the pro team. Real quick, if you're enjoying this video, do me a favor. Go down, hit the like button, and then consider subscribing to my channel. What this does is it tells YouTube that you enjoyed this video, and then hopefully, if I'm lucky, they're gonna send it out to other people who might also enjoy this video. Thank you, I appreciate it. If you're planning on free ranging your chickens, just keep in mind that they will eat anything they have access to. This isn't an issue for somebody that has a big field or something like that where the birds can just go free range and do whatever they want. But if you're somebody like me that has a garden and you don't want the chickens eating your garden, you need to be very careful. If you can't block access off to your garden, your chickens can really just tear through it in the matter of an hour or two. But on the other side of that, we use our birds for garden cleanup. So at the end of the season, we let the birds into the garden, they peck around, they scratch the dirt, they loosen it all up, they eat all the extra plants that are everywhere, the weeds, they really take care of a lot of the garden cleanup. So this one, I'm gonna have to give a point to the pro and the con list, depending on what your situation is. Going along with free ranging, if you do let your birds free range, they're excellent at pest control. When we let our birds free range, they come straight over here to our wood pile and they get all the creepy crawlies out of there. They get all the black widows, they get all the creepy all the centipedes and everything that are in there. All the things that I don't want to deal with when I come out here to get wood, they're taken care of for me, and it's great. They can also swallow an entire mouse whole, so they're pretty good at rodent cleanup too. This is definitely one that's going to go on the pro list. But besides all the bugs and the creepy crawlies, your chickens are going to be at the very bottom of the food chain. So this is something you really need to think about, because if you have any predators in your area, I'm talking raccoons and skunks, snakes, hawks, all kinds of stuff, everything is going to want to eat your chickens, so you need to be able to protect them. And this isn't just for free-ranging birds, this is for everybody. If your chicken run isn't secure, raccoons are going to get in there. If your chicken coop isn't secure, you're going to have something get in there. You want to make sure they're protected. And this is something that is honestly kind of stressful, especially when you very first start getting into chickens. It can be stressful. We had some raccoon attacks, we lost some birds. It took us kind of a minute to get the whole predator protection figured out. So this is something you want to think about before you get chickens, so that way you're not having to deal with it after you get chickens. This is definitely going to be a point for con. And if the predators don't get them, their lifespan will. Chickens have a relatively short lifespan. It's anywhere between 3 and 7 years. Obviously, that's depending on the breed. Some breeds will go longer or shorter, but on average, 3 to 7 years is what you have with your bird. They're also going to be laying a lot of eggs their first year, and then every year after that, they're going to start slowing down their egg production. That's also something to think about. So you need to go in this with the mindset of, I'm getting my chickens, but they're not going to be here in 20 years. You'll probably have chickens. You'll probably have 100 chickens in 20 years, but you're not going to have the specific chickens that you bought today. You won't have those ones anymore because their lifespan just isn't that long. And if you do keep them alive, like we do, our chickens are our pets. If you do keep them alive, once they start getting older, you're not going to be getting eggs from those chickens. This is definitely a con. If we don't keep up on the deep litter method in our chicken coop, it starts to stink. If you're not cleaning out or having some kind of system to continually keep your chicken coop clean, it's going to start to smell. You're going to smell it. Your neighbor's going to smell it. Your neighbors 2 doors down are going to smell it. It can really start to stink. Point for the con list. That was a rough go of cons there. So let's talk about something happier. Backyard chicken eggs are going to be healthier for you. They have less cholesterol, you know the word I'm trying to say. They have less saturated fat, and they taste better. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one 1.5 points, because realistically, the entire reason we're doing this is for better eggs, right? And you're going to have a quality, hormone-free source of food in your own backyard. These are going to be quality eggs that you're taking business away from the tortured chickens in the chicken farms. It's really just an amazing way to go, and that's going to be another point for the pro team. Chickens take up a lot of space. If you want a lot of chickens, you need a lot of space. Yes, you can do it in the city where you have a very small amount of space, depending on what your regulations are, but you're going to have a small coop. Hopefully you can let them free range. If not, they're going to be cooped up. Maybe you're going to have to keep it down to like 2 chickens, which that can be kind of frustrating. For us, we're in this really weird situation where we have plenty of space for all the chickens we could ever want, but our regulations aren't going to allow us to get anything more than we have now, so that's going to be a con for me. My children have learned some pretty amazing lessons just by having chickens. They've learned the circle of life. They've learned where their food comes from. They've learned how to care for an animal, do the farm chores, do the homestead chores. They've learned that eggs from our chicken coop taste so much better than eggs anywhere else. When I was growing up, I didn't have that. I didn't have chickens or anything like that. And for me, now that I'm a father and I'm able to give this to my kids and I'm able to teach them all of these things, there is no bigger pro for me. That is the biggest pro on this entire list. So what do you think? Do the pros outweigh the cons? I think they do. What do you think?